Okay. So right off the bat, you lose about a second or more here from not hitting the robots instantly and then having to wait for the door. And then you also touch the door, which loses all your speed. Like right here, you touch the door, right? So, uh, it's not totally necessary to do this the way I do it, like, which is via locking onto both robots and then doing a quick turnaround. That is technically the fastest way to do it, but even doing it with some hovers is fine as well. Like, the quick turnaround only saves, I don't even know, like a couple frames at best. But let's like actually go through this frame by frame. So, whoa, that's not the frame advance button. This is okay. Okay, so right about here, like right about here is where I start shooting. And also like when I'm coming into this stage, I just buffer a full right input, just like all the way right. So right here, I want to be holding right and then tapping B for like as long as a lock-on takes, which is like not just a tap, but more like a it's like a little bit of a elongated tap. But yeah, yeah, exactly. Like you can buffer in the right input, and it's also one useful thing to know is as soon as you gain control of tails, like you'll see yourself start to move forward. That's exactly when you want to start shooting the laser. That's when you want to start like the elongated B tap. So with the full right hold, you're going to lock on to the robot on the left side by doing that. And then let's just like play this in slow motion. So like by about here you release the B input, and you want to also go to down right, like totally down right for the next B input, which is about here. Like right before you land, you would want to do another B, like lock on to the robot on the right side, and you're locking onto both of them. You want to lock onto both of them before you even see them. So like you want to get them pretty much both before you even touch the ground. And then what I do is I hold basically straight down, and or actually I think I hold maybe slightly left, and then I'm pretty sure I just hold straight down, wait a little bit, and then go straight up to do the quick turnaround. You see most people lock on the right robot then left. That's not how I'd recommend it. I'd recommend starting with the left then the right, just because it's a very, I mean, it doesn't really matter, but it's a really easy motion if you practice it enough to lock onto the right guy by holding full right, or lock into the left guy by holding full right, and lock onto the right guy by holding down right, and then doing full down for like about half a second, and then full up to do the quick turnaround straight through the door. So I guess I'll try to show an example of that. I'll just control click to go to my channel here, and yeah, like this is a perfect example of what I'm talking about. So I guess we'll go through it like frame by frame here. You can see my inputs. So this particular one, it doesn't look like I buffered the input. I think that's just because the game doesn't read your inputs for the first certain amount of time, but I might not have actually buffered it. But yeah, yeah, you want to buffer full right. See, like I'm holding full right, and then I tap B. Like you can see when I release B. So like there's wait. Yeah. Okay, wait. Holding right and holding B here, and then like, I release it here. And then I'm moving to down right while holding B and releasing it like that. And then basically I do a spin put, which also does a turnaround. But another thing you can do is just hold straight down for a little bit and then go straight up. And that, like, let's play it full speed now, like, that's what it looks like. And that's not even optimal, but that's still good enough. Okay, so let's go back to your video and see how you did the next part. So yeah, you potentially have like 1 second right from the start to save. So this room is the trickiest room in the entire stage, and you lose another like couple seconds here, I'd say. Yeah, I did do a full circle in that particular example. I don't usually recommend doing a full circle. And you can. It's pretty easy that way. But the more consistent way is actually just like hold down and then go from down to straight up, because then you're like almost certainly not going, because if you do the turnaround too early, like if you do the turnaround before you release the second lock on, your lock on shot is going to curve around and then hit the second robot later, which makes the door open slower, which means you're gonna reach the door before it opens. So I think even though I didn't make the best example in my 115, you do actually just want to go hold full down and then go straight up after the camera pans around a little bit. That's what I would recommend. Okay, but right here, let's analyze this part here. Also, let's make it full screen. So you're coming pretty far out to the left here. So, like, the line... Like, you have to think about, especially with mech movement in this game, you have to think about it in terms of, like, racing lines. Because, obviously, the mechs have a limited turning radius, and if you turn past that, you lose all your speed. So you have to kind of think about it as in, like, what lines are you going to take? Like, where are you apexing? Where... Like, I don't know how much you know about racing lines, but... this is how you have to think about it if you want to save all the time. You're taking a wide line here. You could take a much more inside line, much closer to this, like, you can probably see my mouse, yeah. Okay, much closer to this, see this, like, white line here? You want to be, like, a lot closer to that, and taking a little bit of a shallower angle going into this door. And... I'll try to explain like how exactly I take this line, but this is actually, I would say, the trickiest part of the entire stage is taking the line through this door and going to the next room optimally. It's really tough, but I'm gonna try to break it down for you. We'll just watch what you do here. Yeah, you take this really like wide line, which is like typical, like this is what most people do. It's safer to take a wide line and then cut back harder, because then you usually will end up losing speed, shoot the two robots, and the door will open before you get there, and that's fine. It's just not optimal. But it looks like you... Sorry. Looks like you... Yeah, you missed the lock-on on the left robot there, and got it very late, which opens the door very late, which is another... This whole section is probably like 2 seconds, maybe, lost. So yeah, you're hitting the spring at... Let's see exactly when you hit the spring, like what frame. Okay, 12:05. An optimal spring is about a 9.5-ish, roughly. So you have about 2.5 total seconds to save just to this spring. I don't even think I got an optimal spring in my run here. I mean, I don't know. But let's see how I take this room. Okay, you can see I take a much, like, tighter line, like a more inside line, and I have to turn less as a result. So, like, You can see the angle I'm holding on my control stick. I do a couple of angle changes. They're extremely small, but they are vital. So right here, I do a, like, as soon as I pass, like, the middle of this, like, red thing, as soon as I'm, like, right in the middle, I do an extremely small, like, 1 or 2 degree like angle change. I don't know if you can see that angle change here. It's a very, very small angle change. It is like the smallest perceptible angle change. But it's completely necessary for getting through this door without hitting it. Yeah. And yeah, you want to like change to that angle, and you'll see I barely will make it through this door. And I'm still holding this angle, and as soon as I get past the door, I'm like slowly turning back. I'm going to aim for around here, like the middle section, and I'm going to want to take my first shot. I think I aim for the left robot first, typically, and then the right. I want to... Well, I'm going to see what I do here. Let's put it in slow motion, just so it's easier to see. Like, half speed maybe should be good. Okay, wait. Sorry. This is really... I'm getting used to the... Yeah, it's a very small angle change. Right. Hold on. Okay. So, yeah, and then it's pretty much... I want to be turning and, like, aiming for this... Like, where this white line intersects with this other white line here. That's where I'm aiming for my apex, kind of. And so, as soon as I get right about here, this is when I, like, right as I'm passing this line, that's when I want to start holding B. And that's pretty much what I do in this run. Like, that's the visual. And that, if I do it right, should lock on. Like, you see the laser going out? That's locking on to the left robot. And then I relax the angle a bit. Release B and relax the angle a bit. And that allows me to very quickly pretty much hold up. You don't even need to hold full up here. But it's not bad to lose a little bit of speed because you still need to wait a little tiny bit for the door. Yeah. It's left then right is optimal, because if you don't lock onto the left guy first, this camera, or this moving thing, will get in the way, and you're going to shoot that first. You want to lock onto this guy as soon as possible so that you don't lock onto this thing instead. Yeah, so here we go. I got both of those guys, and you can see I don't release the stick, I don't jump or anything, I just... Like, doing it that way, if you do it perfectly, you can just run straight through this door. You have to aim in exactly the right spot to get through this door, but you can just run through this door. And then I get a, hold on. Let's see the springtime here. It's a 9.92, so it's not even optimal, because I think I lost a tiny bit on the first two robots in the beginning. I lost a very small amount of time there. But yeah, 9.92 spring, or it's probably a 9.90, but this is a frame after hitting the spring, and I was only recording in 30 FPS because I'm silly. But yeah, you can get like 9.5s. 9.4s if you're like insanely optimal, but yeah. But that's just an idea, like you're losing like 2 seconds in the beginning. But let's just go back and see how you do the rest. Okay, this is set to normal playback speed. That's fine. What you did there is fine. Although, if you're sufficiently early enough, like under 11 seconds to hitting the spring, you don't have to even worry about shooting that robot. It doesn't lose time to shoot it, though, so you might as well. Yeah. Okay, so... Wait, hold on. Right here, yeah. Well, actually, you can jump off this spring just a little bit earlier, if you want to. You can get away with jumping... I'll tell you when you can get away with jumping off. You can get away with jumping off right here. Like, right as your gun is passing this green line is when you can get away with jumping off. But it doesn't matter too much, because you still have to actually wait to grab the next spring, because there's a timer that will prevent you from grabbing it, the spring, to, like, or not a spring, sorry, a pulley, like, 2 times in quick succession. And so, like, you're gonna have to, like, you insta-grabbed it there. If you go earlier, you're gonna have to, like, wait in that spot. So this is probably fine. You didn't really lose any time here. This is fine. This is, yeah, that was fine.
Wait, really? I thought...
This part, I do something completely different here. I'm gonna show you what I do, and then I'm gonna explain why I do it. But, yeah, right here, you're taking a little bit of a wide line. It doesn't lose too much. It's not that much. It's like frames. But if you're really good about it, you want to be taking a much closer line, like an angling yourself a little bit sooner to this, like, spot here, so that you're saving frames. If you really want to be crazy about it. Yeah, you can jump off a little earlier. It's not gonna make a huge difference. Yeah, I actually go around this side of it. It doesn't matter really. They're about the same speed. This is a bit lucky. I can pretty much tell by the way you hit this that you're probably not consistently getting this, because you're like, the way you're angled here, the way you're aimed, this can work. Like, obviously it can work. It did work. But I actually like to be touching the wall just with like a shallower angle towards the boxes, and touching the wall just a little bit earlier, because it makes it way more consistent. Like, you can get way higher than 50-50 with it. I'll show that off real quick. And that's also why I approached from the outside. Wait, hold on. Let's put this in full speed. Okay. So here, I do a pause hover there just because I'm ILing. I wouldn't do that in an actual run. But let's, like, go through this part. Like, just pay attention to, like, where I aim, how soon I'm, like, aiming. Like, I'm already aiming right at the spot I need to go, basically, by now. And then let's see how, like, how soon I touch the wall. Like, I'm basically grazing the wall now. Yeah, if your angle, here's the thing, if your angle is shallow enough and you graze the wall, you won't get popped out of the wall. And if you're grazing the wall when you do the actual, like, bofa, you have a much, much higher chance of getting out of bounds. I'm talking, like an order of magnitude higher chance. So you actually want to graze the wall, but your angle really, really needs to be shallow. And that's why I approach from the left side of this tank that comes up. Just because then I get a shallower angle of approach. And then, yeah, it's the, like, you can see the A tap, like the tap A, and then the tap B, like, as close to a frame after as I can manage. And then I kind of released A late there, but that's, like, the general idea. It still worked in this run. And then here's the other thing I wanted to touch on. I do not start hovering immediately after I get out of bounds. And the reason for that, yeah, the reason why I hover so late is because, first of all, if you are falling downwards, you get a tiny bit of acceleration forwards, which is nice. And the faster you're falling downwards, the faster you're moving forwards. Just, it saves a little bit of time. And if you get a single fall in the first part, it just saves, like, a few tenths. So it's worth learning, but that's only half of the reason why I do this. The other half is I'm trying to get exactly the right height here, which I, luckily in this run, hit exactly. It's all timing to hit exactly the right height. But what I look for here is when I'm passing this wall here, I want this ring indicator to be right above the gap in the wall here, as I'm passing it. If it passes right through the gap, I know I'm exactly on target. I'm exactly where I need to be. If anything, I want to aim a little higher than that. If I was doing an actual run, I would try to start hovering earlier, aim a little higher, and then like do a controlled drop down to exactly this height right here. And the reason why I want to be at exactly the same height every time is because that will determine exactly when you need to do the camera turnaround. It will determine your visual cues. It will determine the timing. Your height affects how quickly the camera changes. So at this height, I know exactly a visual cue that I need to look for to do a turnaround. You stay in hover because you like to line up with the two black walls surrounding tails. Yeah, I'll take a look. Sorry, full screen.
If I hadn't choked that last split, that's wild. Wait, really?
Yeah, so you like to... Yeah, I know exactly what... Yeah, I know what you mean. That's fine. I like it will line up your positioning. That's good. I just tend to trust that I'm gonna be roughly in the same position every time when I do this so that I can just hold forward. This is also fine. If you're doing it this way, you're going to have to drop at some point, and since you're going to have to drop at some point, it is optimal to just drop immediately. Because, you know, saves frames. You're gonna have to drop at some point, whether it is you go all the way to the end before you drop, which is slow, or you drop before you make it to the end, which is faster, or you drop immediately, which is fastest. Doesn't really matter, it's up to you. Yeah, but when you're really high up like this, the camera's gonna flip around super quick. Which, you know, of course, you got that just fine. Alright, you do a little bit of an early drop. You could go more than that, but that's good. Alright, yeah. You do drop a little more, too. It's good. So, yeah, a little bit of an early drop, that's nice. And now you're, like, turning far to the right. Your angle, yeah, you definitely did need to do that course correction. Like, that was essential. That was a good move. You were too far to the left. And then you do... Oh, I just want to point out how long you were dropping here. Wait. That's almost 2 seconds lost to just falling right there. Like, let's see. You get to the tunnel. This is when you start falling 119.34, and then when you hit the thing, 121.20. Yeah, that's like almost 2 seconds lost straight up just falling right there. If you had done that earlier, you wouldn't have to wait in one spot, because, like, think about it this way. You're not moving any closer to the goal ring except vertically right now. You can move towards the goal ring and drop vertically at the same time if you just do it earlier. So that would save 2 seconds. And then let's see how you do this ending. You're probably just going to run off left, turn right, and then hover. Yeah, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. That's pretty much what I recommend people do. Is just run off straight left, turn right, and then like tap hover. It seems like you're not super confident right off the bat about your position, so you do a little bit of an adjustment before you land in the goal ring. That's probably another few tenths, maybe half a second. So that's really all, like, that's where you're losing the most time. Okay, we're gonna go back to my video, and I'll show you, like, exactly why I do what I do. Yeah, no, that's fair enough. Like, I have actually missed the goal ring by going, like, crazy there before. Like, it happens. And if you're playing it safe like that, you lose a little bit of time, but you're safe. Like, you don't want to Ligma, that'll lose the whole run, right? So, that's, like, totally fine. But, okay, so first of all, since I did my drop early, by the time I make it to the goal ring, I'm gonna be at the perfect height, if I wanted to land directly on the invisible platform without having to fall at all, because I'm at exactly that height. I don't do that in this run because I do something way faster, but, like, we'll see. Like, first of all, I got the height visual cue down. And right here, like, my visual cue for this is, I look at the leading edge of this fin, and as soon as it passes this white line here, that's exactly when I go stick neutral. So right about now, I'm passing it, and then you see I go stick neutral. And then, like a couple frames later, the camera flips, and then I have to hold straight down. And also here, you know how in your run, you just held straight down for a while, and then ended up doing a pretty large course correction to the right? You always have to do a little bit of a course correct. If your turnaround is a perfect turnaround, you're always going to have to course correct to the right. But the sooner you do it, the less you actually have to turn, and the greater of an effect that it'll have overall on your angle, for multiple reasons, mostly because it affects the camera turning way more if you do it earlier. And second, because, like, if you make a course correction earlier on in a route, it'll have a bigger effect later on, like, of course. So you can see I do a tiny, like, that, all I did right there, like, I don't know if you could see that. It's very small. I did the a very, very slight, like, right after the turn here, very slight right course correct. I want to do a little bit more than I did there in a normal run, just to be safe, but like, this is my PB, so I'm going ham in this. And you can see I did a little bit more, just to be safe, because I know I didn't really, like, do it enough. Yeah. Yeah, I guess, like, with the course correction, like, if you want to save even more time there, like, do it almost immediately after the camera turnaround. Like, it would be optimal to do it immediately, but it's probably more reasonable to do it, like, a second after. But, like, I know, based on the textures in the background... Sorry, I'll mute this video. It's me popping off. Based on the textures in the background, I know exactly where I am. I'll tell you what I look for here. First of all is when this big gray box comes in. I look for exactly when this tower despawns. And then there's another tower that comes in later. Yeah, I'm just looking at where they despawn, basically. And, like, I want to know exactly, like, where they despawn. Like, that's how I judge how far left and right I am. And it's just, it's kind of takes a lot to get used to, but that's the gist of it. So I basically know I was right on target here, and then, like, hovered right into the goal ring, 115. I need water. Holy crap, I'm thirsty. Yeah. So they, the whole going directly into the goal ring thing, not easy. A better example would be, like, this one's a better example. Actually, no. This one is an example, but the best example would be my gold split. Like, this is my gold split. This is what I do in runs. It's like, the 115 is full risk IL strats that I probably wouldn't quite go for in runs. But you can see, this is, like, in a run setting. I do a little bit of a stop there because I wasn't optimal. I don't pause hover that because waste time, right? I still do the drop, but you're gonna see I'm a little bit higher than I was in the IL because I'm playing it safe. And then I do drop to that height. The turnaround's exactly the same. I just wait till my leading edge passes the line, turn around, do a little course correction, and I know I did a bigger angle change quicker that time, so I'm pretty much, like, confident right now. Now I'm just focusing on the textures in the background. I don't focus too hard on the first ones that come in. I focus a lot on this one right here. And I pretty much know I'm on point. But, like, the big thing here is what I do at the very end. Which is about, like, right now, like, there's a gray box. yeah, there's this gray box that's you can see in the corner of the screen. This is the strat I use for runs. As soon as I see that, like as soon as I react to seeing that, I release A, and then over the course of 1 second, I go from down to right. So like down, like release A, and that's it. That's all it is. So I release A and then turn right. And it has to be like a slow turn to the right, and then you just hit the goal ring. It's pretty safe with enough practice. And that's how you get 1/16s in runs. I hope this helped.